Hello and welcome. Happy 2021. Excuse my rings. I can't get them out. I'm trying to figure out how to light myself and not be with weird rings, but I guess that's going to be how it is today. Okay, guys. So new year, new class, and I'm going to go over with you the syllabus. So I'm going to recommend that you go through the syllabus review with me on this video, which will take a little bit of time, but it's part of what I'm asking you to complete for me this week. So if you would watch the video, and then when you're done watching the video, what you can do is you can take the syllabus test. Now, the syllabus test is a grade out of 100. So it is important that you actually review this PowerPoint and you listen to me while I go over it, as opposed to just kind of reading it on your own, because this will actually help you be a little bit more successful, I think, in that quiz. So let's go ahead and go over the syllabus, shall we? Okay, so this is our English 111 or 111 syllabus. And then also this class has what I call non-negotiables, some things that we are just going to follow no matter what. And we're going to talk about those at the end. And this is for our spring semester. So our objectives today is that we're going to go over the syllabus together. We're going to talk about our non-negotiables. You're going to complete a syllabus test at the end that demonstrates your understanding. And as a overall is that you're going to reflect that you understand the English 111 policies and procedures and be set up for success this semester. So what is this class? So essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reading, analyzing, and writing about a variety of literary genres, including poetry, the short story, and the novel. And there is a research paper requirement that is part of this assignment. You will complete several formal writing assignments. You'll do a lot of reading of assigned texts with critical perspectives. You'll actively participate in class discussion, and you'll present critical analysis on text through pre-writing, writing, revision, and oral presentations. And these are all the guidelines that we have from Bethel. So these are all the things that we are going to work on accomplishing this semester. So last year in 2020, at the end of 101, I let you know what the textbooks are. You will need your textbook, the Bedford textbook, starting for Monday. You will need the How to Read Literature Like a Professor starting for next week. So this is very important that you purchase these two texts this week if you have not purchased them. You are required to have these specific versions. So the 10th edition of the Compact Bedford Introduction to Literature. I have given you guys an Amazon link that takes you, as you look right here, you're going to see we've got some pretty decent prices. But if you look, you've got some, on some of them, the dates are going to be a little bit spread out. That's why I tried to share it with you in advance. Then we have the House of Mirth. This one, if you don't buy it at this specific instance, then it's going to be okay, because we're not using it quite yet. We're going to start that in February, but I do recommend go ahead and getting it, especially if you want to be able to use these other sellers over here that start at $1.95. So you can order one of these and add them and get them in. And then the How to Read Literature Like a Professor. These are some cheap books, but again, time. So you want to go ahead and get that ordered. There aren't copies. The first reading that we're going to have from the Bedford, I have provided a link online for you. But for the How to Read Literature Like a Professor and the House of Mirth, there aren't any online versions of that. So you're going to need to find the text, or until you get your text in, find a buddy that you can share the text with. So I'll also supply you with supplemental materials, outside texts and sources. If these are used for a specific writing assignment, I will provide you with appropriate citation guidance, assistance, and recommendation. So it's important that you write down those. This class is going to be a little bit different from 101 in that it's a lecture-based course. So you're going to be asked to write a lot more notes than you did last semester. And you want to make sure you take good notes because MLA format and MLA citations are required. So for each class meeting, let's talk about expectations. For each meeting, I expect for you to bring your textbook or whatever writing assignment. Like if I have assigned something online, you'll want to bring access to that. Your writing utensils, something that you can take notes with, or you can use your computer if you choose to take notes that way. And any relevant materials being covered. This is non-negotiable. If you show up unprepared for class, either in person or in Zoom, then that is going to be a 0 for that day because it's important that you are prepared for class, that you think about being prepared in advance. It's also necessary that you have a computer with word processing software. That is necessary for all students. We do a lot of writing in this class. You're going to need that computer just like we had for 101. Also recommend that you have a reliable way to save your work. So you might want to use that through cloud storage. You might want to get a thumb drive. And you want to make sure that you have access to the internet. Just using your phone is not going to cut it for this class. So our objectives. So when you get through with this class, and this is important because it's going to help prepare you for your next level literature courses. You'll be taking an American literature course and a British literature course next year if you're in the associates program. So upon a completion of this course, you'll be able to identify and discuss the defining features of each literary genre that we cover in class. You'll use the language of literary conventions to discuss, analyze, and interpret literary texts. You'll create and support arguments and interpretations of text by using literary terminology, personal experience, social, cultural, and/or historical context. You'll be able to use library research to support arguments and interpretations. And you'll write essays that discuss character development, cultural context, or to explicate, which means to kind of take apart and explain a literary work. So how does this class set up? What are the methods of instruction and then learning? So you're going to read a lot. This is a reading intensive class. So you're going to be expected to read extensively, and you're going to be expected to participate in classroom discussion. I will give lectures in class, lectures on literary genre, literary theory, rhetoric, and objective analytic writing will be predominant throughout the semester. There will be quizzes, exercises, homeworks, and class discussions. There will be forms of collaborative working like workshopping and or group projects will be employed as a means of assisting students with your thesis writing, your paragraph development, and appropriate audience awareness. Now, one big difference between this class and the previous is that this is not a workshop modeled course. Last semester, we were in a workshop modeled course, which meant we spent a lot of time in class working on our writing. This semester, we're going to remove a lot of that in-class support. You're still going to have some in-class support, but a lot of it's going to be removed and you're going to need to be doing outside work on your own time. Formal writing assignments in various stages of developments like developing a thesis or a claim. Remember when we talked about our previous lectures? If you did not participate in the lectures that I had for the end of the semester last year, then on my YouTube page, this is really important that you do this before you join, before we have our first official day of class, which will be on Monday, that you take a look at the videos that I posted. Now, under playlists, I have one that is dual enrollment literature. Those dual enrollment literature playlists are what you're going to want to watch. Okay, you're going to want to watch the videos that are from literary analysis. Okay, so those are really important so that you can be well prepared for the things that we're going to talk about, especially when it talks about making a claim and defending that claim with evidence. You will also have a midterm and a final exam. Those are mandated by Bethel, and you will have to take both of those. All right, so classroom decorum. This means like how do we interact in class, either if you're in person or if you're online. So there might be discussions or topics explored in class that are interesting yet controversial. So everyone needs to be respectful to other people's views, regardless of if you're in total agreement with these ideas. We're going to have discussions about controversial issues like abortion, suicide, homosexuality, political discussions, some discussions that might make you feel uncomfortable because they are not part of what your belief system is. That's part of literature, and that's also part of the college learning environment. Being part of being a critical thinker is being receptive to the ideas of others despite our own biases, because we all come to the table with certain biases and our own opinions. I'm not asking for you to agree with me or anyone else in the class, but I'm asking for you to respect that person's idea while also being courteous. If for some reason things get disruptive, like if emotions get too heated and hot, or somebody gets to where they're being antagonistic to another student, then I will go through the necessary channels to have that student removed from class permanently. This is really important that we learn how to have respectful civil discourse. Lecturing. As I mentioned before, this is a lecture and discussion-based class. If I'm lecturing, you should be writing what I say down. I'm not going to give you the notes later. If you want to record the lectures so that you can listen to them, you can. But please don't ask me to repeat due dates multiple times or repeat page numbers or give answers multiple times or repeat something that I said in our last class. It's on you to be respectful, and then also receptive. So at the end of every class, since we will have Zoom meetings, I will post and archive those videos for you so that you can rewatch them if you need to, especially when it comes to reviewing for like the midterm and the final exam. But I highly recommend that you kind of work on developing a system of note taking, and that you do that to get the information that you need to succeed. So again, don't assume that I'm going to give you notes of what I took or what I discussed in class that day. It's on you to be responsible to create your own notes and your own materials. So what about cell phones? Or if you're listening to some other kind of digital music player, I expect for you to have them completely turned off and out of view, including earbuds and headphones, unless you're on Zoom and you need those headphones so that you can hear and communicate. If you have some kind of emergency that might require that you get a call, or you need to have your phone next to you because you're waiting on an important text message, then you need to let me know that before class. This also goes for Zoom. So the same rules that happen in class are going to be the same rules for on Zoom. I don't want to see you like this the whole class meeting, because that tells me that you're not paying attention to me, that you're paying attention to either your phone or you're doing something on your computer. Now, if you're taking notes, that looks a different way than texting. Okay, so I can tell the difference. If you violate this, then you're just going to be counted absent for that day. So there's not really an appropriate time to text during class, unless you're like, hey, Professor Cummings, I have an emergency. I have to respond to this person. I'll let you go stand out in the hallway and deal with your text message emergency, but I'm not going to let you kind of have it be where you're on edge the whole time, staring at your phone, waiting on that response. And then I'll ask you one time to refrain from texting in class. And after that, every single time after that, you'll be counted as absent. Computers and technology in class and also at home. Make sure that you're using your computers appropriately, which might mean I don't want you to be updating Facebook or tweeting or cyber stalking someone or anything that is not related to your classwork. It's really important that you stay focused and you stay on task. I'll try to give you guys little brain breaks so that you can have a moment to check the outside world or to check and see what's going on social media. But our goal in class is to learn, not to kind of interact with the outside world. If you're doing something like on your computer while somebody else is talking. Let's say we're having a discussion and you're typing away. You probably shouldn't be typing when we're in the middle of a discussion. We probably should be being respectful, paying attention, making sure that you're paying attention when we're having our lecture and discussion portions. I don't want to see you playing a game or hear you playing a game if you're on Zoom, and I don't want to see you on your cell phone. And again, remember, I can really, during this long enough that I can tell the difference between actual engagement and you playing around instead of being focused. Academic honesty. So students are expected to uphold the university's values. This comes from the Bethel Student Handbook. Cheating of any kind. So we know what cheating is, right? And we're going to have some quizzes and exams. So cheating, and if I can tell that you've cheated, then you're going to get a 0. If you plagiarize, meaning that you copied somebody else's work, that you're going to get a 0. Or other forms of academic dishonesty involves imposing failing or 0 grades by the following process. For the first offense, the student is going to receive a 0. So this is always, if I catch you cheating in any way, it's a 0. That's not something you can make up. It's a permanent 0. A second offense results in a F for the course. So if you plagiarize 2 times, that's an automatic F for the class. We're done, okay? If you are committed a third offense, then you will be expelled from the university. I will report to the academic dean, who keeps a record of students' offenses from all classes. This is across the board, y'all. So it's not just in this class. So if, let's say that, you cheated off a friend's paper in class, I catch you, I give you a 0, and then you cheated off a friend's homework in math and you're caught and you get a 0. That's 2 offenses, okay? So one more offense is you're going to get thrown out of the university. This is serious. This is how it is at every college. So it's really important that you adhere to this. Now, plagiarism. We talked a little bit about plagiarism last semester. We'll talk about it more this semester. But plagiarism occurs when a person intentionally or unintentionally takes credit for information, ideas, concepts, and other forms of intellectual property that belongs to someone else. So this includes using a friend's paper or having someone help you without giving any kind of indication that they have contributed to your work. Obtaining a paper or an idea from a paper from the internet, recycling writing assignments students may have done previously. Everything that you write for this class will be original unless you speak with me first and I approve it, or otherwise claiming someone else's work as someone's own. Even my lecture topics, notes, etc. So you can't put into your essay word for word what I said in the lecture. That's plagiarism, okay? And remember, plagiarism will be graded as a 0 with no makeup possibilities for the first time. The second time it will be an F for the course, and the third time you will be removed from the university. Let's talk about the attendance policy. So there are occasions when illness strikes or personal issues necessitate students missing class. And perfect attendance is not always realistic. Students may miss 6 classes without penalty. And after the 6 absences, students' grades will lower by 1 letter grade per additional absence. Okay. This also pertains to you distance learners. If you're A, distance learning by choice, B, distance learning by the hybrid schedule, or distance learning due to contact tracing, you're still expected to log in via Zoom to be counted as present. So it's important that you think of attendance in this class as you have to be here. Okay. Now, there are some extenuating circumstances. One, school-sponsored activities. School-sponsored or related activities, which are not as big of a thing this year, but they still are for sports. They're not included in this total. But students with obligations representing the school are still expected to meet the deadlines before they pass, since many of these activities are scheduled in advance. It's important for you to notify me in advance of dates that you are planning on missing class. So remember that while, don't count on your coach to send me an email, because I get lots of emails, and sometimes I don't get any at all. Sometimes I get late. And so remember the volume of emails that I get. It is better for you just to communicate with me. Students with school-sponsored activities who miss class on a date of a quiz or exam are required to take an alternative version of the missing work no later than 1 week from the missed work. Ideally, you should take the midterm or final early, and you should schedule that time with me in advance. Texting, sleeping, using the computers inappropriately, not being prepared for class, or any activity that demonstrates that you're not mentally present in class means that I'm going to count you as absent. Because absences happen, students need to keep track of their attendance because it's not my responsibility to warn you if you get close to failing because of absences. Therefore, do not think that I'm going to give you a warning on if I'm like, "Oop, Sally's missed 5 classes. I better let her know." That's up to you to keep track of your absences. If you have a circumstance that requires special consideration, I want you to talk to me, okay? So if, for example, you have a family member in the hospital due to COVID, and that has put some additional responsibilities on you, like you have to take care of family members, you have to take a job that you didn't expect, something like that, then we need to talk about it because we need to discuss, is it possible for you to still pass this class? If you yourself contract COVID and are very sick, then it's important for you to contact me as soon as you know. I know that, it might seem overwhelming when you're ill or you're going through a personal tragedy, but it's not helpful for you to reach out to me like 3 or 4 weeks later and say, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I dropped off the planet. Here's my reason why. Can I catch up?" Because at that point, there's nothing I can do. Okay. So make sure that you contact me first. You contact me before a due date. You contact me as soon as you know about an obstacle so that we can discuss it. This is just an adult way to deal with our business, okay? Late work. Work is expected on the dates noted in the course schedule document. Now, as a disclaimer on that, I'm still waiting for the school board to decide on the schedule. Once they decide on the schedule, I'll be able to actually get a schedule to you. And probably what I'll have to end up doing in advance is probably do 1 to 2 weeks at a time because I don't know when things are going to change. But you'll have a course schedule document and it will go through assignments and due dates. I'll make sure that you get that material as soon as I can. In the meantime, I went ahead and sent out an assignment through email. Formal writing assignments will have any or all due dates listed as well and is be posted on Google Classroom. I'll post everything on Google Classroom, and our Google Classroom is set up so right now, the thing that you have assigned in there, which I'll be adding more things, is that you have a question of the week, but you'll see your classwork and it will be organized by week. So it will say week of January 5th. Like for example, I'm going to go ahead and post in that writing assignment shortly, in that reading assignment that you have that's due for Monday, and then also the syllabus test, as well as this video as soon as it's done. So all of those things will be in our Google Classroom. All right, so late work. So this is different from last semester, so listen up. In the course of the semester, you have 3 opportunities to turn in an assignment late. Each day that assignment's late, I'm going to take 10% of the possible points, okay? After 5 days, not block days or class days, actual calendar days, the assignment will be worth only 50% of the original score. I will not accept any late work that's more than 5 days late. So essentially think of it this way. You have 3 opportunities to turn in something up to 5 days late. Each day that is late, I'm going to take away 10%, okay? I will have a for late missing work assignment form that you have to turn in at the same time that you turn in as your late work. And then remember that I only accept 3 late assignments, period. So, and that's for any circumstance. That's even if something's crazy going on, okay? So only 3 late assignments. So plan accordingly, okay? So how this works, say that I had an assignment, it's worth 50 points and it's due on Monday. So Monday, you don't turn it in. Tuesday, if you turn it in, then the possible maximum points you can get is a 45. Wednesday, it's a 40. Thursday, it's a 35. Friday, it's a 30. Saturday, it's a 25. Okay. If you don't turn it in, as of that 5 days, as in this case scenario, Saturday, then it's just a permanent 0. So remember that if there are extenuating circumstances, school-sponsored activity, you've got COVID, a surgery, a death in the family, preventing you from being present to turn in your work by the deadline, it's your responsibility to submit the work before the deadline rather than get in contact with me after the due date is passed, or make appropriate arrangements for when work will be submitted, okay? So it's really important that you take some personal responsibility on this. And if you know, for example, that you're not going to be here because you've got a game, then you need to turn that work in advance, or you're going to take a late penalty. Again, it is not helpful to me or to you for you to reach out to me after the due date and give me a story about what's been going on in your life, okay? I need to know about that story in advance. So send me a remind message, send me an email, ask to have a private Zoom call, something like that, so that I can know what's going on with you before it's due. Don't send me an email 2 weeks later and say, oh, I had an emergency surgery, 2 days before the due date. And I, just didn't think about reaching out to you because I was dealing with that. I understand that life is complicated and understand that things can happen, but it's on you to contact me. If you can't physically contact me, have your mom contact me, have a friend contact me so that I know what's going on. So our grading scale, in order to pass this class, you have to submit relevant coursework and fulfill course objectives. So here's our grades schedule. This is a little bit different. You can still get a D in this class and have it be passing but below average. However, that will likely, if you get a grade of a C or below, you're likely going to lose your Bethel grant. So really you want to aim for that A or B. And then I'm going to base those grades on the following kinds of assignments. So reading quizzes, response papers, participation. Hello, this is part 2 based on technical difficulties. We are going to be picking up on the what I'm going to be grading this semester. So let's take a look here, jump back in. Course evaluation based on the following graded items: reading quizzes, response papers, participation and discussion boards, essays as assigned both in class and out of class, your how to read literature like a professor presentation, your midterm exam, and your final exam. And we're going to talk about those a little bit. I may put in other activities and assignments into the gradebook as appropriate for supplemental grades. For your Bethel University grade, quarter 3 will be 50% and quarter 4 will be 50% of your overall grade. They'll be averaged and turned in only as a final semester grade for Bethel University in May. So you want to keep a track of what's on your Skyward, and you want to subtract 4 points for taking a dual enrollment class so that you know what your Bethel grade is. And then the letter grade that's submitted to Bethel will be the same letter grade that's submitted for your final SHS grade. Quizzes and homework. So in order to ensure that students complete the required work for the class, such as reading assignments, there will be pop quizzes. There may also be MLA citation quizzes assigned as well. Students may also be required to summarize and/or present on journal articles of scholarly criticism dealing with a particular piece of literature. In class essays, in order to help students be better prepared for the expository aspect of many college courses, as well as career writing aspects, perfecting your ability to communicate in an expository fashion is paramount. Learning how to overcome stress and/or anxiety about the off-the-cuff assignments, to compile a credible argument in response to an inquiry, in this case over literature, and create relationships between seemingly unrelated ideas, concepts, and topics are all skills valuable to future employers. So we're going to strengthen those with in-class essays. It's also going to prepare you if you're going to be in the associate's program and you're going to be taking, excuse me a moment.
Another test announcement, just to make sure the intercom's working in some portables.
Also, so when you take your, when you go to Lex Neville college class, if it's this class or if it's for the associate's program and you're going to be taking the next literature class, then this is going to help prepare you for that. If you're going to be going to college in general, then it's going to help prepare you for that as well. Exams, So I have to assess your understanding of literary concepts and theories, as well as composition modes we encounter throughout the semester. So the midterm and the final will cover materials from the class reading schedule and may include discussion topics from fellow students, which means class attendance and participation will help concerning your examinations. And then out of class essays. So you will have some out of class work, including a research paper. And basically, my goal here is to make sure that you're writing in a collegiate mode, which includes your consideration of your audience and your inclusion, your use of proper, appropriate language. So your abilities and compositions are most noticeable through essays on that you work on outside of class. So I want to see that you can integrate primary source materials, that you can properly attribute or give credit to those source materials, that you can strengthen your persuasive aspect of your writing, that you can deal with abstract and complex topics that are inherent in literature. All of these skills are strengthened with your out of class essays. These assignments will deal with the primary sources, including according to the genre of literature we cover in class. They are close readings and will only rely on the literature itself and no outside sources. So I'm not going to ask you to do literary criticism theory. I'm going to ask you to use your notes that you have taken in class, as well as the source material itself. And these are generally shorter essays. Okay. I will make sure that you have assigned readings for your paper topics given well before you have a writing assignment. So for example, let's say we're going to write a paper on the first story that we read, which is the story of an hour. Then I'm going to make sure that you have read the story, that you've had class discussion and integration of ideas, that you've had a chance to do some kind of response work on that before I'm going to assign a paper to you. Okay, so you're going to be really familiar with the text. You're also going to be able to have an advantage because of all that material. Okay. I'm also happy to meet with you during my office hours. I'm happy to schedule a Zoom call with you. And I promise that we'll work through writer's block. However, if you're stuck and if you have problems this semester, then make sure that you reach out to me, that you talk to me. Procrastination is never going to do you any favors, I promise. Final exam, while you might be able to be exempt from your final exam for SHS, that doesn't apply for Bethel. Everyone has to take the final exam for their Bethel University English credit. All right, let's talk a little bit about distance learning expectations. So if for whatever reason, so if you're a choice distance learner, you're a hybrid distance learner, you're contact traced, etc., if for any reason that you're distance learning for this class, you're going to be held to the following expectations. You need to log on and be on time for class Zoom. You can either attend fourth period, which has an 11 o'clock login and a start around between 11 and 11:05, or sixth period, which is 12:40 login. And then we're going to start class from 12:40 to 12:45. That will be your attendance for the day, and attending Zoom is non-negotiable. So I mentioned this last semester. I talked about it in advance. This should not be a surprise to you. If it is a surprise to you, then you need to figure out your schedule. There is no negotiation on this. You need to be in a quiet and appropriate place for Zooming, which means no distractions, no TV on in the background. Even if you need to go sit in a bathtub, then that is where you need to be for your Zoom. Be prepared, have your computer charged, have your camera on. So that is another thing that's a little bit different, is that I am asking you guys to turn your camera on so that I can see your sweet, sweet faces. Also, this helps when we have our in-class discussions so that people in the class can see you, okay? People who are physically here. Headphones, if you're going to be using them. Presentation, make sure that you wear appropriate clothing, okay? I don't think I need to go into what appropriate clothing is, but I'm just going to hit on the highlights. One, I don't want to see you in your Snuggie. I don't want you to be in your PJs, okay? And the very least, put on an appropriate top. I don't have, no one's going to see your pants, but make sure that you're wearing pants, okay? Make sure that you look like you're physically ready to learn and engage, okay? Please mute yourself. This automatically happens when you enter into the Zoom, but if for some reason it doesn't work, then you want to make sure you mute yourself. And then you want to be focused and attentive and active. Part of the grade in this class is class quizzes, discussion, and participation. That holds for your distance learning because you're going to be here in class. So that means you need to be in class each day. The Zoom link that I'll send out is always the same. So you just need to save it and join the Zoom every time we have class. So remember that if you choose to be a distance learner, this applies to you, but it also applies to you if it's a flex day, which is like what we're having this week, a school mandated distance day, if it's on a hybrid day, like where you had your certain part of the alphabet is at home, that's a distance day for you. If you're contact traced or quarantined for any reason. Please understand that if you're sent home for contact tracing, it's expected that you fully participate as a distance learner. So let me offer a disclaimer here. Let's say with this proposed schedule, it's going to be an A-B schedule. So on A days, the students who have an alphabet A through L come to physical class. So if you are scheduled to be in physical class on the A day, okay, or that's your distance learning day. If you're fall through A through L, then that is your distance learning day. Then that's the day that you either are on campus or you log into Zoom, okay? On your home day, I do not expect you to log into Zoom that day because I'm going to be teaching the opposite alphabet. If you want to jump in for that discussion, go for it, okay? But you are not required to. You are only required to do it on your alphabet day, okay? Which I know is confusing, but it's something that's a little bit different, and we'll break that down a little bit more next week as we come to it. There's no laboratory requirement for this class. We are using the University Initiative for Critical Thinking, and that it falls into your emphasis on analysis of assigned reading, including scholarly criticism, and emphasis on employing the elements of rhetoric in your assigned writing. We have a disability statement, which means that we are committed to equal opportunity education for all students, including those with documented disabilities. If you have a diagnosed disability or believe you have a disability that might require reasonable accommodations in this course, please contact Tanji Deem at 731-352-4012. All right, my non-negotiables, okay? These are important. This is also something that's new, okay? This is a college level course. And in the course of this class, the following elements must be adhered to or your grade will be returned to you as a 0. This pertains to any and all work. So if you are posting a discussion board post, okay, if you are doing in-class writing, if you are doing anything for this class that you are turning in, these are the rules. 1, written essays must be in MLA format. That means an MLA header, double spaced, properly 1-inch margins all the way around. All the works that you use must be cited or it's plagiarism. That's an automatic 0, period. If you discuss in a discussion board post, if you bring up a reading and you don't cite it at the end in a works cited, that's plagiarism, period, okay? All sentences have to start with a capital letter and end with proper punctuation. All proper nouns and names are capitalized, like author names, titles of stories, titles of novels. And this also includes the use of the letter I, like if you're talking about yourself, no lowercase I, please. You will use their, your and your, and to, and to correctly. And if you're not sure how, then reach out to me and I will teach you how to do it. Okay. At this stage of your learning, you should know those differences. And then you will always spell check your work and you will proofread for careless errors. Okay. So now that we are done with reviewing this, you're going to go ahead and take your syllabus test, submit that, and then I will be posting additional content onto Google Classroom. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to learning with you this year.